In a survey released by research company Pondering Panda, bullying has become a major problem that schools face and it has increased compared to previous years. Now, this is something that is less easy to identify, but potentially just as harmful. Now, most children experience school bullying at some point while they are at primary or secondary school. Bullying is everyone's problem. There is a need to fight this behavior to save lives and build future leaders in our society. Now, to discuss this more, we are joined in studio by an Income Development and Communications Manager, Petunia Phaka, from Child Welfare South Africa. Petunia, good morning to you and welcome to AM News.
Good morning, thank you.
Now, talk to us about bullying. Can we say that bullying is an abuse, and if so, how different is it from abuse?
It is actually abuse. You can't say it is different. It's just your general abuse. It's just that in this instance, you'll find that it's kind of aggressive and can be between peers. You know, it appears between peers in most cases, and that's unlike with abuse. It's usually you'll find that an adult is performing some form of aggression on a minor. But with bullying, it usually happens between peers, it can be a group, between a group and an individual, or between individuals. But it is a form of abuse because it has a negative impact on your emotional, your psychological well-being, even physical. At times it even leads to death if maybe there was some form of assault and so forth.
So what you're suggesting is that it could even happen between siblings, brothers and sisters at home playing. And could we describe that as banter, or is it bullying when the older ones really are bullying the smaller ones?
It is. You can say there's a thin line there. It is abuse at the same time. It might be bullying because remember that this one person is exercising a form of authority on somebody that is perceived to be much weaker than themselves. You know, so it is abuse in a way.
Well, what are the causes that lead to this type of behavior?
I think in most cases, for example, I've always said that, let's say between colleagues, I'm just going to make an example. If this group of colleagues is intimidated or threatened by another colleagues, maybe they see them as much confident and doing very well for themselves at work, and that obviously because there's a form of fear on the part of the bully, then it, instead of admitting, you know, sometimes like, how do you do it as a worker, you know, to get to where you are? They're going to try ways of trying to sub this other, to disempower the next person, you know. So you can say that in a way, the bully is actually the one that is afraid, but then is projecting and transferring whatever emotions that they have onto this other one. So it's not necessarily to say a stronger person exercising some form of aggression and authority on a weaker person. It could be that it's a weaker person. You know, just sorry.
But how do we then identify this person, this bully, and how do you know then, as the person that's being bullied, that you are being bullied, and that, you know, that there's a perpetrator and of course there's a victim?
Remember, here it's all about disempowering you and making you feel like less than, you know, you are as a person, and that is how you know that this person is actually bullying me, because they, in a way, they want to invoke some form of negative emotions. That is where you draw the line. And in terms of the bully, usually, like they will always say that a child will always project what they feel inside onto the outside. Say a child is coming from a household where parents are fighting, they're going to display it onto the next children, the next child. So you'll think, onto another child, whom they think that maybe they're coming from a family or an environment from which they would love to come, to identify with, but they do not have.
Talking about that identification, normally I see these pictures of the bully being the bigger person and the smaller person is the victim. Not necessarily.
It's not necessarily. Sometimes it could be that a smaller person, I'm talking about internally now, a smaller person will bully a bigger person because they see that, you know what, I envy a certain strength about this person, but I'm going to bend them so that they don't even, you know. That is why we'll say, as a parent, you have to empower your child in terms of building their self-esteem, building their confidence, you know, them being articulate and so forth, so they know who they are. Otherwise, other children are going to tell them who they are, and it's usually through bullying.
Let's talk about the child. How does it affect school performance in that respect?
Obviously, this child is always anxious. You know, when we were growing up back then, at school, if this big child sees you, I'm very petite, so they usually say, hey, after school is after school. And you won't concentrate, I'm telling you. You are just thinking the whole time, you're thinking, how am I going to have my way out of this? You know, so anxiety, obviously, even your depression, you know, because you're thinking, should I tell my parents? Should I tell my teachers? Should I? You do not know. Or maybe is it just between us as equals? So it does affect even your performance at school. It will affect you.
How do we fight this scourge, and what actions can be taken against bullies at school?
We have to remember, like at school level, like I said, that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's your bigger person abusing your smaller person, but it could be your smaller person internally abusing your bigger person. So also the bully, obviously a child is not gonna, you know, when they're crying, it's a form of crying out to say, you know what, I'm also dying inside. So we need to help the bully at the same time to find out, because there are underlying factors. You need to follow up. Don't just say, this is a bully, let's suspend the child and or expel the child. You're not helping anything, you know. So there are procedures, there are child protective services that we can consult with as a school. And there are still policies, you know, from the Department of Education that support such, you know, in terms of the educators, the primary caregiver during that time when the child is at school. So there's ways where you can actually assist not just the victim but also the bully, because they are children at the end of the day.
Child welfare, do you receive a number of bullying cases through your call centers?
Not really, but I just remember that I think it was a year before last, I was working at Foster's Child Welfare, and at the time there was a student who actually killed another, you know. But then when we followed up, it was because this student was he was bullied by the others, so he had to. So we do get such cases, but in most cases, obviously, because it depends on the bully, there's a lot of secrecy when it comes to bullying and shame. So usually, just because you don't get reports, it doesn't mean that it's not actually happening.
Where can people get assistance from Childline if they seek it, whether you're a bully or a victim?
There are child welfare offices throughout, like because we are a national office, we have satellite offices just to make them easily accessible to, you know, to our community. You don't have to travel before you get there, and they can also they need to tell their parents. You need to speak out to the parents. You need to talk to the school. The school will also link you. Your life orientation teacher will link you to the actual services and the resources that you need to in order to empower you and to assist you.
And there's, of course, a call center number as well.
Not really. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and coming in. That is Petunia Phaka from Child Welfare South Africa for joining us here in studio.
Thank you.
Now that's your news this hour.